All right. Hey, Vikings fans. Welcome into another episode of the Skol Hop. I'm Evan.
And I'm Austin.
We're just a couple of dudes from Iowa. We like drinking beer, talking about the Vikings.
Yeah, we do. And this week, I had to do it again. I had to spin the wheel of purple punishments alone again. But this week wasn't as bad as last week with the cinnamon challenge, so I'll take it.
Yeah. And, I mean, there's going to be a few more weeks coming up where one of us is going to have to spin the wheel regardless, so that'll be interesting. We also tried a really good beer, a beer that kind of brings us back to our college days. Not the beer specifically that we had, but a beer that reminds us of it, and it was pretty good.
It was really nice.
I liked it.
It was nice to think back to that time. Another nice thing is we recapped the Vikings win over the Colts, the first win they've had in the last 3 games, so that was nice to talk about there.
And we get to look ahead to the Vikings taking a road trip to Jacksonville. First of 3 road games coming up for the Vikings in a row, going to Jacksonville, going to Tennessee, and going to Chicago. It'll be an interesting road trip for the Vikings. Hopefully they can get back to their winning ways like they did on Sunday night against the Colts.
Yeah, let's hope they go 3-0. But until we know about that, go ahead, give us a listen for episode 65. Grab a cold one, join us.
Skol.
Skol. We just want to say big thanks to episode and show sponsor Big Top Ventures for sponsoring this episode today. If you're interested at all in taking an all-inclusive trip to Jamaica or Cancun, go ahead and we'll put it on the screen as always. Send an email to bigtopventuresllc@gmail.com. Again, that's bigtopventuresllc@gmail.com, and let them know how many people you want to bring, how long you want to go, where you want to go, and what you're interested in, and they will get back with you with a really good plan for a good vacation on a really great price. So reach out to them, Big Top Ventures. Step right up to your next big adventure.
Yeah, thanks, Big Top.
Yeah.
All right, man. Do you know what time it is?
That's it. That's all we have for this episode today. No, it's purple punishments. And I was ye of little faith. I predicted in the preseason, a Vikings loss to the Colts. And thankfully, I was wrong. But because of that, I alone, because you predicted a Vikings win over the Colts.
I did, yes.
I have to spin the wheel of purple punishments. And
all right,
I still, there's a couple decent ones on there still, that would be annoying and wouldn't be super fun, but I think we've gotten the worst ones out of the way. The cinnamon challenge last week was awful. I will never do it again. I'm glad that is in the rearview mirror.
What limb are you gonna wax if you land on that one?
Wax a limb? I don't know. I might just go for it and wax my calf or something. I think you'd mentioned off mic before that if you landed on it, you'd do your thigh or something like that. I don't know. I want to go for production value here. Not that that's not a good idea, but I kind of hope I actually land on that one because that'd be quick and easy and probably more painful than I'm giving it credit for. But I think we just got to spin and see what punishment I'm doing this week.
You ready?
Yep.
Here we go.
All right. Please be jalapenos.
Eat something spicy.
Yes.
All right. Well, you can find the jalapenos behind you there. I think the only bad thing about eating something spicy is drinking beer right after that.
All right.
So
we've got the sliced jalapenos.
But here's my question for you. I don't know if I have a spoon or anything.
Okay.
Well, how do you want to do that?
I don't know. Maybe I'll just put it on the cap. Just put a handful on the cap.
Or here, I've got. Okay. Do you want some paper towels?
Sure. Yeah. Just because they're jarred jalapenos. I love spicy food, so this is not even a punishment right now. But you were saying.
Well, so what if we added a little wrinkle to this?
Oh man, I reserve the right to veto whatever you're about to say.
I give you the right to veto, but we do have eat an entire jar of pickles on here. Do you think you could eat an entire jar of jalapenos?
I could. But I think my stomach now and tonight and tomorrow would not appreciate that a lot. I will eat a fair amount, and I'll let you be the judge on if it's a fair amount.
Okay.
I'm thinking not quite a handful, but like something of like a heaping spoonful's worth.
I like it.
All right.
Let's do it.
All right. Oop, I hope that pop got on the mic. That was a nice, satisfying little pop. Okay, so I don't know if you can see it from the camera from far. This is just your run-of-the-mill Hy-Vee sliced jalapenos. It says hot on the jar.
I tried to find the spiciest thing I could find on the shelf.
So I'm the annoying guy that when I go to Mexican restaurants, I'll like order my food and then I'll say, and do you have like spicy hot sauce? Like the stuff you keep in the back for, the employees. And occasionally they'll be like, yeah, we'll hook you up. And sometimes it's really good, really spicy hot sauce. And that's my favorite. That's what gets me happy. All right, Evan.
I think you can add a little bit more.
Yeah, I can definitely add a little bit more.
They can't see it, but
we'll show the people what we're working with here.
And don't worry,
a little bit of a mess.
If it gets on the desk, it's fine.
We got paper towels. Okay.
We'll clean it up. I'm just glad you landed on this one because if I ate this much jalapenos, I can smell them right now.
Oh man,
and
this is a treat for me. Actually,
it's offensive.
I mean, it's gonna be spicy. Don't get me wrong, but like, I would say this is probably, I don't know, like a half of a real jalapeno.
Yeah, it's probably like 2 tablespoons.
Yeah, we'll add just 1 or 2 more.
You're just gonna like just take a shot and just go for it.
Maybe this might get a little messy.
Right.
But yeah, if you're watching here, maybe I'll even just walk up to the camera.
Do it.
Here we go. Nice little. I guess you can't hear me. Nice.
A nice amount of jalapenos there. Sorry, I should have narrated that better.
That's
for
all right.
Those that are just listening.
We forget that the mic doesn't pick everything up. All right, I guess here she goes.
Hang on. One quick reminder: if you're out there listening, this is a good reminder to watch our content on YouTube or on Spotify, because we do this every week, and it's just better in video, I think. But I get it if you're just an audio-only listener. But if you want to engage with these purple punishments especially, check out the videos. And we clip them out and post just those things on all of our socials later, too.
Even like Twitter and TikTok and stuff. So
I need you to get this over with because I can smell it, and it's bad. And I'm a wimp when it comes to spicy stuff. I'll admit it. And
I'm just gonna tell you right now, I'm probably just gonna take these home.
Yeah, go for it.
The rest of the jar of jalapenos because they will get eaten. All right, here we go. This is gonna be hot.
Oh, I know it will be.
All right, here, Skol.
Skol. Oh yes, down the hatch. How is it? Are they as hot as they claim to be on the jar?
I mean, they're spicy, but it's a jalapeno. I think the volume is what's going to make it hotter.
Sure.
I think it's already starting to cool down a little bit. So, yeah. I like jalapenos, though.
You are a bigger man than I am.
I mean, it's just that I like spicy food. So, I'm really glad I landed on that. It was good. It's making my mouth water a little bit. It's a little warm. Like, I might get a little bead of sweat if I weren't wearing a hat right now. But, yeah, I would do it again if I had to.
All right. Well, you can take those home and put them on your tacos or whatever you have. That was an underwhelming punishment.
Yeah, the cinnamon challenge last week that was
better.
1,000 times worse to experience. I'd say even spicier. I don't know. It's a different kind of heat, but yeah, check out the cinnamon challenge from last week. And I think we're coming up on a run where like at least one of us is guaranteed to spin the wheel for a few weeks here. So keep your eyes peeled. Purple punishments. That wasn't so bad.
All right. Well, let's crack these beers open. It'll be interesting to see how the jalapenos interact with the beer that we have today, which is from LionBridge Brewery. It's called Fun Size, and it's a porter with chocolate and vanilla. And the ABV isn't listed on the can, so we're not 100% sure. We found something on Untapped, I think, that said it was 7%, which is pretty hefty.
Yeah, it's pretty solid.
But also not surprising for a porter. So, yeah.
It's a fun size is what the name is, but it's also kind of a fun can. Pink and yellow. And
yeah, it's got a bright design.
If you couldn't read or if this was in a different language, you might think this can was like strawberry lemonade or something like that before you open it up. It's not anywhere near a strawberry lemonade. Porter with chocolate and vanilla. I think you already said that, but
So it should be pretty smooth, I think, which I'm excited for.
I'm excited.
That'll feel good on the old esophagus after those jalapenos go down.
Oh yeah, it's already not very warm in my mouth anymore. So, oh yeah, very nice dark color.
Yep, it's got a little bit of brown to it, like the chocolatey brown, which I like. That's kind of nice. It's not dark.
Ooh, that smells good. You definitely smell the chocolate and vanilla in there. This is going to be a nice treat.
Well, I got this because I think, was it last week or 2 weeks ago, you mentioned Lionenkugel's Snowdrift Vanilla Porter, and I saw this on the shelf, and I'm like, well, we both like that Snowdrift Vanilla Porter. Maybe this is Iowa's version of that.
Yeah, and neither of us have had this before, right? You haven't had it?
Nope, never had it.
All
so
right,
I'm excited.
Let's try it out. Skol.
Let's go. Oh, yeah. That's really good. I get a lot of chocolate.
Oh, yeah. Usually when like a porter like this says like chocolatey vibes, I'd never really pick up on that, but I'm definitely getting that. The chocolate and the vanilla. This is really good.
And then you get the vanilla on the back end. You get that like, it's almost like marshmallowy, like s'mores almost. Like it's like the aftertaste of a s'more if you put chocolate on your s'more, which actually typically I do not. I like a plain s'more with no chocolate.
Do you put like other stuff like Reese's or
I've done Reese's before. I'll do chocolate from time to time, but I've never been a big chocolate fan. But I like this. This is good.
Yeah.
So
LionBridge, really good job on this. I think sometime I'm gonna have to try this on draft because this seems like it's super delicious out of the can, but I feel like out of the draft would just put it way over the top.
The smoothness on tap would be awesome.
It would add that creaminess that the can just doesn't quite give you. This is amazing. If you haven't tried it, give it a try. I don't know, maybe, do you know if this is like a seasonal thing or if they put this out all year round?
I do not know that.
I haven't seen the can before.
Yeah, it looked pretty new to me, so I was it caught my eye, obviously, because it's a pretty eye-catching can design, and like, well, let's try it.
Yeah.
So here we are.
So the last few weeks we've been kind of talking about a handful of breweries, and we haven't really said it yet, but I think we're kind of putting together a solid list of breweries for, the Skol Hop Brew Hop 2.0. And I think we need to make LionBridge. I know we went there on the first brew hop, but we should try to make them a good priority for the next time we go.
Yeah, I definitely enjoyed our short time there. They were kind of on the tail end of our first brew hop. We were a little tired, and the day was ending, and we needed to get back home. So I don't think we spent as much time there as maybe we could have. But it would definitely be worth going back and spending a little more time there. I would enjoy that.
Keep your eyes peeled. Sometime in the future, there might be another Brew Hop 2.0. Maybe it'll be next summer. Maybe it'll be sometime sooner. I don't know. We haven't really even talked about that yet, but that'll be fun.
Yeah. But really good beer. And if it's on tap there, if and when we go in the near future, I would love to try it.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, we've got to talk about this win. The Vikings.
Yeah, a win. Go
They
figure.
won.
They finally did it for the first time in
a few weeks.
Yeah. Man.
So, yeah, let's talk about it.
A lot of good things to talk about. And, I mean, if you're a pessimist, there could be a lot of bad things too. But I think overall, the game was pretty awesome. I saw a lot of people complaining about the defense, and I don't really get that because I thought the defense played fantastic.
The defense didn't allow the Colts into the red zone at all.
And the defense only allowed the Colts to score 6 points.
Right. Field goals.
Those 2 field goals.
The touchdown came on that scoop and score that is kind of controversial.
Yeah, you had a little bit less negative of a take on that one that I did, but yeah, that scoop and score was pretty awful. We'll talk about that here. The defense, you could say they gave another opportunity for a field goal. It was a 53-yarder that is it William Gay? What's his name?
Matt Gay.
Matt Gay?
I think.
That's probably some historical figure that I'm thinking of. But yeah, Matt Gay, he missed, I think it was his first field goal attempt, just like, unfortunately, Will Reichard missed his first 2. Or his only 2.
Matt Gay and Will Reichard traded 53-yard misses. in the first or second quarter, I think. So, yeah, they both missed from 53. Will Reichard, unfortunately, sounds like he's injured.
Yeah, which I'll attribute his misses to that just because I don't know any better. But all that to say, the defense only actually gave up 6 points and could have given up another 3, but it's still... The kick was not good. So I thought the Vikings defense played fantastic. I thought Justin Jefferson, he didn't get in the end zone, but man, he's really proving to be the same old amazing Justin Jefferson again. Sam Darnold, aside from a couple of mishaps, played generally pretty good. A lot of good things to talk about in this game.
Well, should we talk roses and thorns?
Yeah, for sure.
Get into that.
All right, what's your first rose? You got any roses?
You've got a good list here. I'm just going to pick one off of here.
Sweet.
Cam Akers.
Yeah.
We've been going back to last season. We've been pounding the table for this guy to be a more prominent part of the Vikings offense. And we finally saw that last night. And we were texting each other during the game like, well, what happened to Ty Chandler? Where is that guy?
I had asked you at one point, was Ty Chandler even active for the
and
game?
He wasn't on the list of inactives, which would lead us to assume that he was active. But he didn't see the field. I don't think he touched the ball at all. And I don't think he ever made it off the sideline.
Yeah, I made a mental note that I forgot about to check Ty Chandler's snap count, but I never did that. But maybe if you talk here for a minute, I can look that up.
Well, while you do that, Cam Akers looked really, really good, kind of coming in relief for Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones looked pretty decent himself. And I think that's been the recipe for success with a guy like Aaron Jones. If Aaron Jones is RB1, he is not going to be the Adrian Peterson 200 yards a game kind of guy. That's just, and that's not how running backs function right now in the league.
For the most part,
unless your name is Derrick Henry. You're not going to be racking up all these yards and scoring 3 touchdowns a game and taking the weight of the team on your shoulders, literally. It's usually this multi-back approach. Some teams have 2, some teams have 3. And we've seen Ty Chandler with splashes this year of being okay, but he just hasn't really hit that stride.
I feel like his whole Vikings career, which I think this has got to be either his 3rd or 4th year. I think it's his 3rd. I think he was a rookie in KOC's first year in 22. Ty Chandler he's always felt like, oh man, he's about to break out. Oh, he's about to do something good. And he just never quite gets the opportunities. And then now that he has gotten the opportunities this year and some last year too, he just never lived up to it. He's like that wild card in your hand that you never really get to play, and when you do, it's just not at the right spot. I just think, unfortunately, he has proven that he's someone that looks like he's got all this potential, but has never really shown it. Not too much, unlike Kene Nwangwu.
Yeah.
But I looked it up. The internet says that Ty Chandler had no offensive or defensive snaps, but he played 7 snaps on special teams against the Colts. So
yeah, and that makes sense. A guy like him who's talented enough, you're going to see him on those special teams reps if he's not making it out onto the field on offense. But all of that to say, Cam Akers had some really explosive runs. He got a few first downs. He had 2 or 3 first downs in a row.
Yeah, there was one drive which I think ended up either in a turnover or a punt. But for most of the drive, Cam Akers was looking pretty good. People were tweeting hey, this is a Cam Akers breakout drive. And I think it's those kinds of things when you can rely on your RB2 to come in, spell out Aaron Jones, who is getting older and just keeps playing more and more snaps. And outside of missing 1.5 games of injury, he's been looking good. You can't keep throwing Aaron Jones 100% of the time out there. So having a guy like Cam Akers, who you can be confident will get 3 yards here, we'll get 7 yards here. We can trust him to get a first down if we need it. That's huge. That can change a game.
And even if that drive where he went, I remember he had 3 big plays, boom, 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 and I'm pretty sure they were all first downs. I can't remember precisely. We could go back and look. But even if that drive ended in a turnover or a punt or whatever, those are building blocks for the later part of the season. And now Kevin O'Connell and Wes Phillips, they've got this building block of, all right, Aaron Jones, RB1. We've kind of had this question mark of RB2. We started the season with Ty Chandler. We made that trade for Cam Akers and brought him back to Minnesota from Houston. We kind of now know who that number 2 is.
Yeah.
I think without a shadow of a doubt, he's earned that spot as RB2, and Ty Chandler lost that spot.
Well, and I would argue, and maybe I think you'll fully agree with this, Cam Akers earned that spot last year, and he was working his way to earning the RB1 spot before his second Achilles tear of his career. And I think if not for that Achilles tear, which wasn't it in the breakout, like Josh Dobbs Atlanta Falcons game, that he played really good, but then towards the end of it, I
don't remember when he tore his ACL, but I do remember in that Falcons game, he trucked somebody.
A defensive tackle.
Yeah. He was out in front blocking for Josh Dobbs on a play that blew up, and Dobbs just had to get it with his feet, and he just blew somebody up. It was awesome. That was a fun play.
All that to say, I think in 2023, Cam Akers was winning. He was beating out Ty Chandler. He was beating out Alex Madison, which the coaches, for whatever reason, just took forever and were very hesitant to get rid of, or, to pull Alex Madison out of that RB1 spot last year. But yeah, Ty Chandler, if not for that Achilles tear, you got to think they would have, signed him to another, probably not a 10-year contract, but another 2 or 3 year contract after the season last year, and he would have been in the plans, and they're proving that by trading for him again. And I think they tried to sign him soon before the season started this year, once they figured out, okay, he is healthy, miraculously, he is coming back from his second Achilles tear, and that'll be an interesting thing if we ever get more details on that, because it looked like the Vikings had signed him, per sources, the Vikings were going to sign him, and then all of a sudden he went to Cam Akers and went to Houston and was a Texan for a few weeks and looked pretty good there. And then the Vikings traded for him. So it's like, I don't know. I don't know if there was some cold feet on either side to make sure he was healthy enough. But I'm glad he's in purple. I'm glad he's going to get to play some more, and he's definitely looking good as the RB2.
What do you got for a rose from last night's game?
I really like, I mentioned it earlier, Justin Jefferson. He's just, we all know he's good. We all know, and Vikings fans like you and me love to say the best wide receiver in football. I think everybody else would be like, well, he's definitely top 5, but there's also this, and this guy. No, he's the best wide receiver in football, and he's consistent. He's not consistently getting 300 receiving yards and 5 touchdowns every game, but he's got, 7 straight games of 80-plus yards receiving now? Yeah, it's not 500 a week, but that's hard to do. That's like one of the longer streaks in NFL history, and he's making it look easy. He's coming out and, maturely being frustrated about only getting 80 yards receiving, and then the last 2 weeks he's been over 100 yards against the Colts and the Rams. He's looking great. He's proving continuously that we can count on him. He's a really good player. He is the captain. He is the offensive MVP, and we're only hearing good things about him. So that's my biggest rose.
Well, and if anybody wanted to argue about, Justin Jefferson's not the best in the league right now, well, you can go look at the receiving yards, and he's at the top of that list right now. And he's done that with one fewer game than most of the other guys that are in the top 5 or top 10 on that list. So, we're going to be homers. We're going to always, be behind the guys that are on the team and, sing their praises. And Justin Jefferson is definitely a praiseworthy player. He's a very good player. I don't think anybody would disagree with us on that. But now there's finally some concrete proof. He is the best in the league, at least in terms of receiving yards. Now, he probably doesn't have as many receiving touchdowns. Those have been low this year.
He's got 4 or 5 this year. But the first 4 games, he had a touchdown in every game. Which, that's up and down. He's never been like a traditional touchdown machine. But
I think what's interesting to note with Justin Jefferson is, aside from these last couple of games, they don't need Justin Jefferson to go out and get 140 yards, 160 yards, 200 yards or whatever to win a game. They need him to be consistent. They need him to go out and run his routes. They need him to go out and block, which he does. They were saying on the broadcast last night that there are some guys, when they reach his status, that they're like, no, I don't want to run block. Don't put me out there on those plays.
Just send me deep every time.
Yep. I want the sexy plays. I want the cool plays. I want the ones that are going to get me all the attention. And he's just not that guy. And so that's just for the future of this franchise, for what we've got beyond this year. I'm really excited.
Yeah.
And he's a big reason why, for sure.
Yeah. Any other roses for you?
Gosh, I think we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about Cam Robinson.
Heck yeah, man.
That was incredible. I mean, the dude was traded days before he made his first start as a Viking, and he filled in admirably. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't always pretty, but I don't think he didn't allow a sack. The sacks that Sam Darnold took weren't his responsibility. They weren't the guy that Cam was responsible for blocking. I think he was credited with like 2 pressures, maybe.
Yeah.
Somebody got past him and almost got to Sam, but didn't sack him. But yeah, all of that to say, his first day of practice was Wednesday, and he comes out and plays Sunday night. And he played pretty well. I think the future is good there too for the Vikings. And honestly, I think if he's cheap enough, you look at re-signing him for next year and add depth and security when Darrisaw's back and healthy. And also, I mean, he could move inside and play a guard position and help out where the Vikings have been really weak, especially on the right side.
Yeah.
So...
Well, and that too, I don't know a whole ton about Cam Robinson and how flexible he is on moving around, but I think we've seen the last handful of years, Brian O'Neill, who also is amazing and is, I think he's a bona fide Pro Bowler and really good, one of the top right tackles in the league in his own right. But I mean, he has been known every year to at least miss 1 or 2 games. I think, you play a physical position like that, you're going to get banged up every once in a while. And I think he's been totally healthy so far this year. But to have an elite, a really good level backup at the tackle position who theoretically could play left or right would be huge. I'd be all for signing him again next year, especially with the idea that Christian Darrisaw, who today, Monday, November 4th, just had surgery, he might be out a full calendar year. It's the same type of injury that TJ Hawkinson had, and he missed, 10-ish months of football. We don't know that Darrisaw is going to be ready to go for the start of the season, and you got to think Kwesi and KOC have already talked about every scenario in the future and maybe even said, like, okay, what would it cost? Assuming it's just one game and he looked really good at one game, but assuming Cam Robinson is somebody they want to re-sign, what would that cost? And maybe they're already kind of moving the dollars around to plan for that. But I'd be all for it. The Vikings offensive line, especially the inside, has been pretty tough this year and in recent years. So anytime you can keep really good guys at that position group, I'm here for it.
Well, there's that one play. It was the scoop and score where, was it who was it that got back to Sam Darnold and sacked him and forced the fumble? I can't remember. One of their interior defensive linemen
or something like that. Yeah, I mean, really good players.
Anyways,
right?
He just flat out ran over Garrett Bradbury, flattened him like a pancake. Got home to Sam Darnold. Sam fumbles the football and then scoop and score touchdown. It was the only Colts touchdown of the day.
You would fumble the football too if you got punched in the face.
Well, yeah. And should we go on that tangent?
Let's do it because we have a little differing opinions, and I'm a little more hardcore about it than you are, but that's okay.
Well, yeah, and we were texting about it. At first it seemed pretty egregious, like the previous game where he was ripped down by his face mask to end the game against the Rams on a safety in the end zone. That was an obvious missed call that the player got fined for by the league, but there's still no repercussion for the officiating crew missing that call, and that's what's frustrating, I think, for teams, players, coaches. So the hit that he took on that play was not an egregious face mask
yesterday
penalty.
In the Colts game.
Yes, that's what I'm referring to. There wasn't this, legitimate claw into the face mask, and there was no turning or anything. There was impact. There was, the forceful impact. And I guess I didn't fully understand the rule until whoever the NBC rules analyst that they bring in when there's controversial stuff like that. I don't know who it is. But he came on and said, well, there was forcible contact to the head or neck area. And the ref, if you remember, originally threw the flag. And then he picked it up and said, there's no foul on the play, touchdown Colts.
Yeah.
So after hearing the rules analyst say there was forcible contact to the head or neck area, then I was like, well, maybe it could be, but it's still it's incidental contact. It's not like he was just like in a street fight and going to punch Sam Darnold. His arm just swings around as he's trying to make the tackle and accidentally hits. And the rules don't really account for accidental versus intentional stuff like that. So I don't know. That's where there's like a little bit of a gray area for me. And I can understand why they picked up the flag. I don't like that they picked up the flag. It would have been nice if they kept the flag and they didn't score a touchdown and the Vikings get 15 yards and they hopefully score a touchdown, and it's an even bigger margin of victory for the Vikings last night. But that just wasn't the case. You saw it differently, though.
I mean, yes. First and foremost, that Colt, Grover, I'm not sure who exactly it was. That Colt was not intentionally. There was no egregiousness. There was no,
Grover Stewart. He was not trying to hurt or injure anybody. He wasn't trying to punch Sam Bradford in the face. Sam Darnold.
Good grief. How many times have I done that? Oh my gosh. If we went back and really picked at everything I've said this season, I probably called Sam Darnold Sam Bradford.
I think
more than 10 times.
No, it's less than 10, but at least once or twice. It's all good. We know what you're talking about.
The Colt was playing football. It was a bang bang football play. He was trying to sack the quarterback, get the ball. Totally fair, totally fine. However, and it wasn't that Darnold is a quarterback. In that moment, it was a hit to the head or neck area of a defenseless player.
Yeah.
And I think the reason they picked up the flag, I think I saw in the post report, was the ref threw the flag because he was calling a face mask. And then they talked and they were like, it wasn't a face mask, which very true, it wasn't a face mask. So they picked it up. They didn't address and say, it was a hit to the head or neck area, which that's what KOC was trying to say when he was yelling on, we could see him on TV. He was trying to say head or neck area. What's going on here?
Yeah. And I think that's an interesting wrinkle to the game. Because yes, that clause at the end of that rule, forcible contact to the head or neck area of a defenseless player, which Sam clearly was in that moment. But I think you just uncovered something about how games are officiated. One guy threw the flag, right? And in his mind, it's not like he's like audibly saying out loud, that's a face mask, and all the other officials can hear it, and then they confer afterwards and go, nah, man, that wasn't a face mask. He throws the flag without saying anything. Nobody knows why he threw the flag. We can make our assumptions based on what we saw, right? But we don't know what he's going to call, and we don't know the perspective that he had on the play. So it makes me wonder if, like that eye in the sky or the replay assist that was really a factor early on in this Vikings game.
In the first half,
they sent, I think the officiating, the NFL officiating crew as a whole was trying to send a message to the Vikings like, hey, we're not here to screw you over, because they were giving them first downs when it was really, really close, and the officials on the field were like, well, according to replay assist, that's a first down.
To tangent for 10 seconds on that replay assist, there was one moment late in the game, Aaron Jones, it was either a short run or a quick pass, he got really close to the first down on like second down, and on the TV and everybody, and initially I think it was called short of the first down, and it was at the point in the game where the Vikings were trying to run some clock, and I was thinking like, oh, that's kind of nice that they didn't get the first down, because now it's second and less than one, and they can bleed clock a little bit more, and hopefully get the Colts to burn some timeouts. And then replay assist came in and said, oh no, you got the first down. It's like, that actually kind of stings a little bit, because now you get less chances to bleed clock. Anyways, keep going back to what you're doing.
Well, all of that to say, like, I think it just uncovers the inconsistencies, the incongruities, and ultimately this this huge like lack of equity when it comes to officiating in the NFL. And I'm not going to be the Vikings fan. I don't think you're going to be the Vikings fan that is going to say, well, if that happened to Patrick Mahomes, then blah, blah, blah. Right? Like, I'm not going to sit here and make that claim. Do certain players get certain privileges?
Yeah.
Do they get some leeway? Maybe.
Yeah, we saw it forever with Aaron Rodgers.
Maybe.
And to be fair, I think we're seeing it a little bit occasionally with Justin Jefferson, too. I think, I forget the game, maybe the Lions game. I forget when it was, but Jefferson was getting some calls his way that maybe not everybody else gets. But anyways.
I think the NFL officiating committee needs to really take a good long look at some of these penalties. We've talked about holding recently. There's holding on every single play. I think you need to redefine it. If this is holding, me just simply grabbing your shirt, that's not an egregious penalty that affects the play of football, in my opinion. Sorry if I offended you.
Oh, man, 15 yards.
Flag.
Yeah. Flag.
Holding.
Yeah.
No, I think you need to redefine that. And I also think you need to continue to, not redefine, but you need to continue to work out these logistics on defenseless players, pass interference, face mask, these egregious penalties that result in injury, right? Because they're always going to say, oh, we're trying to make the league a safer place. We're trying to make this a safer game. We're trying to keep these players around for longer and keep them healthy and blah, blah, blah. Well, put your money where your mouth is then, right? Like, actually do something that makes a difference rather than make the game entirely more confusing for everybody.
Yeah.
And KOC was quoted, I think today, Kevin Seifert tweeted something.
Okay.
About how Kevin O'Connell has approached the league about this multiple times now, going back to last week with the very obvious face mask that wasn't called, and then this last week with the punch to the face from Grover Stewart on Sam Darnold. And he was quoted saying something along the lines of, I'm learning very quickly that my opinion doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And that's kind of concerning too. Like, when a head coach can't even like respectfully approach the situation here and say, hey, this happened, and it's now happened 2 weeks in a row to my quarterback, the most important player on my team. What gives?
Yeah.
And they're just like,
No.
you don't matter.
Exactly.
That's concerning to me.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
I think Roger Goodell needs to fix that, and whoever's in charge of officiating in the NFL needs to figure that out too.
Yeah. And I think a quick solution to that is, and maybe it's already being, we joked about it a minute ago, being inactive, is the eye in the sky. I think you trust and you let the refs on the field make their calls to the best of their ability. And I say it 1,000 times, I'll say it again. The refs in the NFL, I'm a fan of. Generally, they make calls that are very tough calls to make, and most of the time they're right. Like, I get creeped out by how often they make a correct call in real time. But I mean, everybody's human. I think that eye in the sky needs to have full authority, and maybe they do. I don't know the ins and outs of that fully, but they need to have full authority to be able to jump into a game and just make the right call, whether it's a penalty or a no penalty, or, I mean, anything. Maybe they have to stop it for rain delay. Like, there should be a way to have an authority come in and just make the common sense right call whenever they have to, and not leave it up to, solely leave it up to the guys on the field. Hopefully they make the right call.
And you've got to imagine it's not one guy who's sitting in a studio in New York watching this multi-screen view of the 16 games that are happening or whatever all at once, right? Like, there's probably a team of people in a studio with access to all sorts of camera angles that we might not even see as just the general public watching the broadcast. Like, I fully agree with you. The technology's there. It's 2024. We can, each game, each location can be in touch with New York in an instant, and New York has played a role in games before. I fully agree with you, and I would support a full authority of the eye on this guy, because the other thing too is they're going to have access to camera footage that the refs don't have, right? The refs have one perspective. It's their perspective. It's what their two eyeballs communicate to their brain, and it's what their brain meshes with their knowledge of the game and their knowledge of the rule book to make the call on the field. But if somebody that has 13 different camera angles and can see that was a catch, that wasn't a catch, oh yeah, he definitely grabbed the face mask there, or oh yeah, there was definitely forcible contact there. I don't know if you caught this, but in the Lions-Packers game, it wasn't Kirby Joseph. It was Branch.
Yeah, he got ejected.
He got ejected from the game, and that was kind of interesting because he made the hit on the Packers player, and they threw the flag because it was unnecessary roughness. It was helmet to helmet, and
a torpedo helmet.
Obviously, the stuff that they're trying to get out of the game, and it was just a simple penalty. It was just 15 yards, whatever. And then all of a sudden, right before the next play, they whistle the play dead, and they come over the PA. He's out of the game.
I forget his name. Branch. It's not Dion Branch, is it?
I don't remember.
That sounds wrong. That probably is right. I don't know. But yeah, that guy.
Yeah. So anyways, it was just interesting how long it took for New York, I'm assuming, to review the play, make the decision. And I wonder, what goes into that? Who's involved in that? Is there a team of people? Are they looking at multiple different angles? What are the characteristics of a hit like that they're looking at to deem, okay, that's an ejection worthy hit versus, no, he's good, he can stay in the game, but the 15-yard penalty stands, whatever. All of that to say, I stand by what I've said. They need to take a good, hard, long look at all of this to improve the game for everybody.
And I think for the most part, anytime New York has come in and made a correction or made their own call, it's not like it's been a newsworthy thing that they've made a wrong call. I mean, yeah, if you're a Lions fan, maybe you don't agree that that player should have been ejected, but I think pretty objectively he should have been ejected. So it's not like they come in frequently and it's like, oh, no, that wasn't a first down, even though it's plain to see it was a first down. Or, oh, yeah, no, he ripped him down by his face mask, even though his hand wasn't close to his helmet. They usually come in and make the right call. So let them keep coming in.
We've spent way too much time this season on this podcast talking about NFL officiating. There have been multiple episodes now where we've
gone off on tangents. Yeah.
It's been interesting. A side tangent from the tangent. Do you believe the Bountygate conspiracy against the Lions? Because I saw that quite a bit today too.
I think
Dan Campbell, for context, if you didn't know, was a part of the coaching staff in New Orleans during the original Bountygate, where they were legitimately hedging bets on injuring Vikings players in that 2009 NFC Championship game.
And really the whole season for a while. Yeah.
Yes. But it really culminated in that championship game against the Vikings. Brett Favre, Adrian Peterson. It was rough.
Is that what you want to do? You want to depress me right now?
I'm just asking your opinion on if you think the Lions are continuing that, however many years later, 15 years later.
I would be surprised. I think I'd be surprised if they actually had any kind of somewhat formal program or, under the table agreement, like, okay, if you knock this guy out, here's $10,000 or whatever. I'd be shocked, but it is funny to think about because there is that connection. The Lions do seem to be just right above the line of, playing fair and playing correctly. They seem to be crossing that line a little bit. But also the Lions are really good, like you just said.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a fun thing that people like to tweet out. I'd be shocked if they had any kind of a bounty gate program going on.
So you're going to claim clickbait is what you're going to say?
So far. But, okay. I mean, nothing's impossible. I would just be pretty surprised.
Interesting. All right. Any other roses that we want to hit from this Vikings game? We really detoured there for a minute.
I was going to say, we let the thorns kind of creep into our roses and thorns. I think the only other thing I wrote down for roses were that, like I said earlier, some people on Twitter were kind of complaining about the defense, but I think for the first time in a few weeks, this Vikings defense looked like the first couple of games of the season Flores defense. We were seeing it, the movement pre-snap,
You saw a lot more pressure. You saw a lot more of that exotic. We're gonna send 9, 10 at the line, or we're gonna send 7 or 8 and then drop back several in coverage. Like, you just saw a lot of mixed looks that we haven't seen for a few weeks. We saw a little bit more of this conservative shell defense, play it safe against these teams, which I don't really fully understand why.
I think losing Blake Cashman is a huge loss.
Yeah.
And I think they figured out 1, 2, 3 different ways to kind of mitigate that Cashman hole. I noticed, and they may have been doing this for a while, but I noticed for the first time last night that Van Ginkel was on the inside a lot more, as opposed to being like that edge rusher. And again, maybe it's just something I've missed from previous games, and he's been on the inside a ton, but maybe they're relying on him a little bit more. You still saw those blitzes, but it seemed like the blitzes were either getting home at the end of the game. They didn't get a sack until close to the end of the fourth quarter. They were either
like
getting
3 in a row.
Yeah, that's the thing. They didn't have one all game, and then they had 3. But they were either getting home or affecting the play in a very good way for the defense. All that to say, another rose is that this Vikings defense looked like they had been looking at the beginning of the season.
Yeah, I think friend of the show, Dustin Baker, tweeted out something today on the defensive EPA per play or something. I don't understand all of those stats completely. It's a little above my my pay grade. But anyways, he tweeted out something that through the first 5 games when the Vikings were 5-0, the Vikings defense was first in the league in that EPA per play stat, whatever that algorithm that is that decides that. And then in the next 2 games that they dropped, they were 28th in the league. And then last night they were first.
Yeah.
So it's just been kind of this hot and cold. And I agree with you. I think Cashman is a part of that. But I don't know that he's the only one responsible. Yes, he was the green dot. Yes, he's kind of the quarterback of the defense when he's in the game. But I think it's also encouraging, and that's why it's a rose for us. It's a good thing for us last night that this defense got back to its ways without that guy.
Yeah.
And again, that goes back to what I said about Cam Akers being a good RB2. It's one of those building blocks. Like, you have to have these contingencies. You got to know, okay, if X is gone, if Y is gone, or if Z is gone, whoever is gone, we gotta keep playing football. We can't just lay down and take our lumps and hope that everything turns out okay. And when you get to the playoffs, it's single elimination. You lose, you go home.
Yeah.
So,
and whatever you did in the regular season, if you went undefeated, it doesn't matter.
Yep.
Yeah, so absolutely.
If Blake Cashman is injured in the wild card round and the Vikings are playing that weekend, you've got to have a solution to that problem. It is a problem, but you can't just, play like we've played the last couple of weeks and expect to make it through a wild card game. That's just not going to be the reality.
Yeah. Well, and sometimes too, if a guy's injured or if one piece is gone, the common thing to say is like, all right, next man up. Okay, Darisaw's out. Let's go with Quessenberry or trade for one guy. Sometimes it's not as simple as next man up. And yeah, maybe they're not as good as the first guy, but they'll have to still fill that role. I mean, sometimes you need next men up and you need to kind of rethink things. And I'm not saying anything that an actual football coach doesn't know. And, that's how football coaches make their money, is being able to win despite adversity. So yeah, I think maybe the defense with Cashman out took that next man up mentality and just kind of plugged Ivan Pace in there. And maybe they did a couple other things, but it seemed like it was just, all right, Ivan, here you go. And I mean, he's still young. He's still not Pro Bowl worthy. He's good. He'll get there, hopefully, but he's not quite good enough to just plug and play. You got to support him just like every other position on the field.
So the rose is definitely that the defense looked way better than it has.
And we've mentioned a couple of losses.
Yeah, we've mentioned some specific things, right? Like not allowing the Colts a single play in the red zone, which was great. There were no offensive touchdowns. The only touchdown they scored was that scoop and score, and then they had 2 field goals. So the defense definitely seemed like it returned to form. And again, all of that without Blake Cashman. So you get a guy like that back, and this defense is as unstoppable as ever.
And go figure, we spend a week or two kind of talking about, is Dallas Turner a bust? Is he
looked
not
good,
figuring things out? Is he not in the classroom? What's going on with him? And then go figure, he comes out. And yeah, he didn't have 10 sacks. I think he might have gotten a half sack, but he definitely affected that game.
Oh, for sure.
A couple quarterback hits. He was rushing. He was covering in the backfield. He was around. And yeah, I don't think he played all 60 or whatever plays, but he was playing like you would hope a mid first round pick would be playing here 8 or so games into his rookie year. It was encouraging to see.
That was definitely a positive sign and good news for the future. And again, another building block for where this team is headed, not just this season, but into the future as well, right?
All right, so we've kind of mixed in our thorns with this, and the episode's getting a little long in the tooth. So maybe we each come up with one thorn quick before we move on to game balls.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, so we both definitely talked about officiating, and I think we kind of took that away from an outright thorn and more of a point of contention here. I guess my one thorn that I'm really going to take away is I hope Will Reichard is okay. He every kick he made or attempted in the Colts game, he kind of did a little hitch in his giddy up after he kicked, whether it was a field goal attempt, which he's not perfect anymore. He missed the only 2 field goal attempts he attempted yesterday. I think he was still perfect on extra points.
He was 3 for 3 on extra points.
Yep. And he was still kicking off. So they still had him out there, and I think he had a heating pad on the sideline whenever he was on the sideline. But, I think we still don't know as of Monday evening right now how injured he is. Him and Andrew DePaula, who I think they said he's going to have a surgery and he might be out 3-4-ish weeks, might even go on IR. But yeah, that's my biggest thorn, is that kicking game, which has been a huge stable thing, is now a little questionable right now. Yeah,
special teams got a whole lot more questionable last night with the injury to DePaula. Your long snapper is a key part of that special teams game. And then, Reichard's injury. We're watching Monday Night Football right now.
Pat Mahomes may have just suffered. Either it's nothing or it could be as detrimental as an Achilles. I don't want to be too crazy right now, but he stepped quick, and now he's being shoulder to shoulder helped off the field and doesn't look very happy. And again, all the news is going to come out way before anybody hears me speak these words. But there's going to need to be a slow-mo of him stepping down, because he took a hard step, threw a touchdown pass, and then limped off and immediately...
Either his Achilles or his left knee. It kind of looked like his knee kind of buckled when he planted.
This is a Vikings podcast, though.
Yeah, Carson Wentz is warming up, though. He's going to come in reprieve of Patrick Mahomes there. Anyways, all of that to say, special teams was definitely a thorn. Not great for the Vikings, and you hope that those 2 guys aren't injured, because those 2 guys are kind of unsung heroes for this Viking team. Andrew DePaula, we don't talk about him a whole lot, but he goes out, he does his job really well, and we never hear anything other than, we've got a good long snapper in Minnesota.
To never hear your long snapper's name other than, he donated money to charity. Like, to never hear his name is a beautiful thing, because it means he didn't make a mistake.
And Will Reichard, I think the only really big knock on him coming into the Vikings organization is that he had an injury in college. 2019, he had a quad injury, and that's what they're suspecting it is right now. So you hope it's not that. You're hoping for the best, but honestly, you texted me last night. But you said 24 hours from now, which would be right about now.
Yeah, I was wrong on that.
You kind of expected Will Reichard to be on the IR. That hasn't happened yet, but I still think that's a pretty likely possibility. And I think Kevin O'Connell was quoted today saying we'll have tryouts, or we'll be bringing in some kickers to do some workouts and stuff and see what happens. So, yeah, that's definitely a big thorn. I'll take another thorn here, and I'll take a moment to just point out this shirt that we made.
Evan's wearing the purple Sammy D shirt.
It's obviously a play on Sunny D, your favorite orange juice from your childhood.
Is it actual orange juice? Can we say that?
It's 100% vitamin C.
Yeah, okay.
If it's 100% orange juice, I'm not sure. It's probably not. But anyways, I've always thought that Sammy D was a fun play on Sunny D. And so my wife made these awesome shirts. We'll link the shirt design down in the description here. So if you want to get your own Sammy D t-shirt, you can go ahead and get it.
Plug her shop real quick.
Yeah, A&J Creative on TeePublic, and again, we'll link that down below as well. I think we did it last week because I think we ordered these shirts last week, and they just came in. So, anyways, I thought they turned out really good, and I'm excited about them. Anywho, I'm wearing his shirt. I'm still I'm a believer in Sammy D, but he struggled in this game, and that was a thorn. And the one interception that he threw in the end zone,
that first
one that he threw in I think it was the first quarter, that can't happen. He has to figure those things out. He cannot force the ball. He needs to throw it out of bounds. He needs to just take the sack. He needs to do whatever he can to not turn the ball over. He was responsible for all 3 turnovers. Granted, the fumble was, the result of Grover Stewart coming through and just bulldozing Garrett Bradbury.
Which I'll ultimately say about that, because I've been very critical about the punch in the face, quote unquote. Grover Stewart made a good football play.
Absolutely.
I mean, it was a good play. Anyway, Sam Darnold.
All of that to say, it's a thorn a little bit. And if the Vikings are going to make a run in the playoffs, if the Vikings are going to do anything, make any noise the rest of the season, if Sam Darnold wants to kind of salvage his reputation as a quarterback in the NFL and wants to earn a big contract for himself, whether that's with the Vikings, probably not, or with another team next year, he's got to fix those things. He's got to be more aware of what's going on, and he just simply cannot make mistakes like that first interception in the end zone that he threw. That was, you just don't see quarterbacks make egregious mistakes like that. You see safeties or corners sneak up on a receiver. Didn't see him. This wasn't that. This wasn't like I was sneakily in the background and I just jumped the route and intercepted it. This was Sam was trying to force it. Sam was trying to make something happen. He was chased out of the pocket. He did a great job getting out of the pocket, escaping the pressure, keeping the play alive. But then when you look downfield and there's nothing there, you got to throw it out of bounds. You got to take the sack. You've got to do something other than give the ball to the other team.
Well, and he's really good at, you mentioned throw it out of bounds or, take the sack or whatever. He's really good at, even if it's a yard or two, running, if that's his last option. He's not a run first kind of quarterback, but he's pretty athletic, and he's proven it even last night in the Colts game. I agree with you. He had a few pretty awful plays. That interception, there's no question about it. He was very critical of himself on that fumble that was a scoop and score for the Colts. I think the first thing he really said was, I can't drop the ball in that situation. Like, I can't fumble the ball. He didn't even address, a potential non-called penalty. But I will say, overall yesterday was a good game for Sam Darnold.
Agreed.
I know you weren't saying it was a terrible game for him. He just had a few pretty awful mistakes, and in a lot of games, some of those mistakes can lose you the game. The Vikings defense was good enough to overcome those, and then him and the rest of the offense were good enough to overcome those mistakes too. But I think overall it's a net positive. I don't know what the stats say, all the fun, crazy, in-depth stats that Dustin Baker likes to throw out, but I mean, he still had a really good game and 3 second half touchdowns. That touchdown throw to Jordan Addison. I don't know how he physically got the ball off. Yeah, it wasn't placed 100% perfectly, and Jordan Addison still had to make a highlight reel catch. But, I mean, Sam Darnold still ran around and got that ball off and put it in a place where obviously Addison could catch it. I think overall, net positive, good game for Sam Darnold.
Yeah, and he certainly redeemed himself in the second half. All 3 of those scores came in the second half.
He did have that interception right after Byron Murphy had his interception.
Yeah.
But after that, he was pretty good.
Agreed. And to put the ball on Jordan Addison like he did, and gosh, we haven't really talked about Jordan Addison pulling that thing in, but that was a heck of a play by that kid too. Wow, that was awesome.
Addison's catch, that was one that will be played on his career highlight reel. That was a crazy, insane catch that bounced around, and it plain as day. There is no controversy on whether that touched the ground or anything. It was beautiful. It was an amazing catch.
Unfortunately, that catch will be overshadowed by the Garrett Wilson catch on Thursday Night Football earlier this week.
Oh my gosh, that was
incredible too. But I think had that catch not happened on Thursday night, everybody in the league might be talking about that catch.
Yeah, Addison's might be the best touchdown catch of the weekend. But yeah, no question about Garrett Wilson to get that shin or thigh down and just the Jumpman logo of his catch. That was crazy. That was awesome.
Yes, it was. All right, let's hand out some game balls here. Who do you got on offense?
All right, offense. I'll just go really quick too. Offense, we've talked about him. Cam Robinson. He came in first practice. I think he arrived on Tuesday. Practice for the first time on Wednesday. Started on Sunday and he played every snap of the game. It was like 64 snaps or something like that on offense. He played every single offensive snap. I think he might have had a penalty, like one.
He had one.
And like maybe a pressure, but outside he played amazing for at least 60 snaps. Snacks? I'd go for a snack right now. Cam Robinson, he definitely earned my offensive game ball.
Yeah, my offensive game ball also goes to somebody named Cam, but it's Cam Akers.
There's a few Cams on this team.
Cam Bynum, Cam Akers.
Akers is a good one, though.
I'm going to give my offensive game ball to Cam Akers for all the things we've already said about him. He solidified his position at running back 2. He definitely proved to the Vikings organization that they made the right decision to go out and get him back. And I don't know that we'll see Ty Chandler a whole lot on offense the rest of the season. As long as Cam Akers and Aaron Jones stay healthy, I think RB2 is squarely Cam Akers, and he proved why on Sunday night.
Yeah. Before we move on to our defensive game balls, it already looks like Pat Mahomes is on the field and doing just fine right now. He was jogging on the sideline. He might be healthier now after that scare than he was before that scare. So that's how it goes, I guess. The entire NFL world was terrified for a second that the face of the NFL was injured. Maybe some people were super excited, but yeah, he's back on the field. Defensive game balls. Who gets yours?
I'm going to go with Jonathan Grenard. He wasn't like at the top of the defensive stat sheet for the Vikings, but the guy has just been consistent. The guy has generated pressure on opposing quarterbacks all season long. He did the same against Joe Flacco. He didn't have a sack.
He did. He had 2 sacks in a row.
Did he?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm off on my stats.
That's fine.
All of that to say, he is definitely a huge addition to this Vikings defense. I'm glad they went out and got him. I think as long as he stays healthy, you get Cashman back. You've got Van Ginkel. You've got a pretty solid interior with Harrison Phillips, Jerry Tillery. You've got Turner, who's really coming on. Dallas Turner coming on. I like this Vikings defense a lot, and I think any one of them could get a game ball anytime, but Jonathan Grenard gets mine for this game.
Yeah, he's a monster and worth every bit of that. I think it was like a $78 million, $72 million contract for like 4 years that he signed this offseason. Kwesi, say what you want about his draft ability and his ability to pick good players in the NFL draft. He wheels and deals in free agency and trading. He knows what he's doing. So yeah, Grenard, amazing. I think he leads the league in QB pressures too. that's a little padded because I think until Aiden Hutchinson went down, Hutchinson was like 20 pressures ahead of everybody, and would have, doubled anybody else, but he broke his leg. So Gernard, he's reaping the benefits of that. My defensive game ball, and KOC made a joke about how this guy probably has like a basket in his basement just collecting all 600 game balls he's gotten. But Harrison Smith just keeps going out. He made probably at least a game-saving pass breakup on fourth down. Yep. It was a pass that, Stephon Gilmore was on the receiver, had him kind of wrapped up. You could argue defensive pass interference on a fourth down, like 4th and 2. And the ball was on target to the receiver, but out of nowhere, Harrison Smith comes with his vintage, just legally just plowing into the receiver and making sure he didn't catch that ball. It reminded me, I think, of Smith's rookie year. If it wasn't his rookie year, it was really early on. He did kind of the same thing against Calvin Johnson. Johnson had the ball, went high pointed the ball in the end zone, maybe to win the game. And Harrison Smith just comes and torpedoes, again, legally, and just knocks the ball out. That's what he's good at. He's a really good football player, a great Viking. He gets my game ball for the defense this week.
It's definitely hard to disagree with that. On special teams, this would be slightly controversial, and we've already talked about him. He might be injured. He might be on the IR. We're not sure yet. But I'm still going to give my special teams game ball to Will Reichard.
Okay.
Because, yes, he missed 2 kicks, but those 2 kicks we could probably attribute to injury.
Maybe.
But despite the 2 misses, and one of the misses was like shanked off of the upright.
Yeah, it hit that was like a 30-something yard. It wasn't super long, but if you're injured, that could have contributed to it.
Yeah. So all of that to say, he was 3 for 3 on extra points. He was still booming touchbacks on these kickoffs. If he's injured and he's still doing those things, I think there's a lot to be happy with there out of the play of your kicker. And we knew he was going to miss a kick at some point.
Yeah.
Like, the fairy tale wasn't going to last all season. There was no way it was going to be a Gary Anderson type 1998 season.
We would have all been terrified if he had gone into the playoffs, assuming the Vikings make the playoffs. If he had gone into the playoffs, totally perfect, especially if they made a deep run and they were in the NFC Championship or something.
And you typically don't think of your kickers as being these like tough, gritty players. Like, they just like, I think of Gary Anderson, you have the single bar on the helmet. Like, I'm not going to get hit. I'm fine. Yeah. And like, you don't think of kickers that way, but like to come out and do what he did last night, hopefully he didn't like prolong anything or make anything worse with all of the kicking that he did in the game last night. But I still think he did enough to deserve a game ball. He was tough. He was gritty. He made 3 extra points, which were important, and made touchbacks, which are also important.
Yeah. Yeah, mine just, I've been saying it all season, until Will Reichard misses a kick, he's going to get my special teams game ball. Well, he missed a kick, so I got to be true to myself here. I totally agree with you on everything you just said about him, and I definitely agree that he earned that game ball just by gutting it out and keeping playing with potential injury going on, and somewhat successfully too. Yeah, he missed a 53-yarder, which who's going to make that healthy? And then the 30-something yarder, which he barely missed, and hit the uprights. But so I totally agree with your selection of Will Reichard, but mine's Ryan Wright. I mean, I couldn't tell you exactly how great he did, but this is more of an equity thing. He's been playing really well all season after kind of a down year last year. And I think now I can say I've given him a special teams game ball at least once this season. So that's where I'm at.
We kind of flip-flopped because for the longest time you were Will Reichard, and I was like, well,
I guess
Ryan Wright has been doing okay. He's been playing well too, and I think he deserves a lot of credit. I mean, fortunately, we don't need a punter a lot. We've needed a punter more in the last 3-4 weeks. Yeah, unfortunately, but hopefully the Vikings offense for sure can get back to a consistent, steady pace and figure out how to play a complete game of football and keep Ryan Wright off the field.
Absolutely. Every week I'm kind of concerned, like, man, we don't have a ton to talk about. This is going to be like the shortest episode yet. And here we are with a full game against the Jaguars that we got to preview, and we're already, an hour and 10 minutes into this thing.
One more thing really quick on the game balls and on Will Reichard specifically. When do you think we'll hear about his haircut? Because
oh man,
he was allegedly quoted saying he wasn't going to cut his hair until he missed a field goal.
I think that's a thing he does. Like he gets a haircut at the beginning of the season, and he just waits until his first miss. You are literally adding insult to injury.
Well, yeah, I'm not trying to. I was going to say, like, is this too soon? Like, should we bring this up? But, I mean, somebody's got to ask the question, right?
Will Reichard, has been, like, awesome at these brand deals. Like, he's got, like, a big brand deal with, like, Walmart. And he's got a few other ones that are, like, okay, good for you. Like, you getting these brand deals. I almost expect him to have a brand deal with some like national haircut, like Great Clips or something like that. Like, so maybe that'll be it. Like he'll have like this commercial about like, it kind of reminds me of the Matt Burke commercial when we were kids. That was like this kid asking like, what makes the sky blue or something, and Matt Burke just goes off, and it's like a milk commercial. I kind of it's like Matt Burke went to Harvard. I kind of think there'll be some funny commercial of like Great Clips and Will Reichard, like, yeah, I'm only here because my job's making me, and it's like, well, what do you do for a living? Like
they could do a really funny play off of Marshawn Lynch. I'm just here so I won't get fined, kind of thing. That'd be funny.
So yeah, I hope he does, because even if it's cheesy, which, man, Will Reichard, and I'm a fan of his. I'd have a beer with him, but he seems kind of like quirky, kind of cheesy. Like, good for him. He seems like a good dude, but still like, oh, okay. Like maybe you're not like this crazy, macho man football player, but that's okay. I'm not trying to talk smack. He's a good dude, but
well, the radar will definitely be on high alert for the Will Reichard haircut.
It'll be posted out probably. Yeah, and I hope he does. I hope he turns it into some money making venture.
Yeah. All right. Well, we've got to talk about what's coming up here. The Vikings are going on the road for 3 weeks in a row. Yeah. It's going to be a 3-week road stint before a 3-week home stand, which I actually kind of like. I like going on the road first and then coming home to 3 games at home. That'll be good for this team, especially kind of in this. We're officially over the hump now on the season. We've kind of eclipsed the halfway point, and we're on the downward slope. So they travel to Jacksonville. They're going to face Cam Robinson's old team. Yeah, which that'll be kind of an interesting homecoming for him, having just left like a week ago. But yeah, what are you expecting with this game, and what are you looking forward to?
I mean, so I am looking forward to this. I think it'll be a good game for the Vikings. Not to belabor anything. I think the Vikings will win. The Jaguars have not been great this year. I think they made the playoffs last year. It looked like they were finally turning the corner with, the progression of Trevor Lawrence. They had a pretty decent coach in Doug Peterson, which he's still there. But what are they, 2-7 right now? They have not looked great. They played the Packers pretty good a couple of weeks ago, but other than that, I haven't seen them play. I just kind of watched that one because the Vikings were on a bye. Yeah, I mean, I think this could be... Excuse me, man, I got the burps from this fun size from LionBridge. I think this could be a good game for the Vikings to feel good about themselves. And obviously, in any kind of game like this, where you got a team with a good record going against a team with a not so great record, there's always the quote unquote trap game scenario, and I hope they avoid that. But yeah, I think the Vikings will pull it out and win.
What's your prediction? Score prediction?
All right. Well, my prediction, I think the Vikings will decidedly win. I think you're getting I think you're getting Blake Cashman back, which I've said for a few weeks has been a huge loss for the defense. I think Cam Robinson just being another week into this playbook is only going to help. Getting guys healthy. You're finally getting TJ Hawkinson really going to be back into game mode and everything. Maybe Dalton Reisner solidifies that offensive line a little bit, hopefully. I think the Vikings win handedly. 31-14. I don't think the Vikings are going to have much trouble with the Jaguars.
Wow. Well, the last time one of us said something like that, we got ripped apart in the comments.
I'm trying to get the views, man.
But it also racked up like 15,000 views on TikTok. So
50. Like it was like 48 or 49,000 views. Yeah.
All right. Well, hey, clip that out and let's put that out there. I agree with you. I think the Vikings will win. I don't know that it's as heavily in favor of the Vikings as what you've said. I still think it's a pretty decided win. You said 31-14. I'm going to go 24-10 Vikings. I think the defense allows fewer points, kind of like it did against the Colts on Sunday Night Football. They didn't allow an offensive touchdown at all. They allowed 2 offensive drives for field goals and then a defensive touchdown. I think they correct some of those mistakes. I think there's an offensive touchdown and a field goal, and I think that's it. Other than that, Jacksonville, that's a hard thing to say. Jacksonville's. It's hard to pluralize Jacksonville. Jacksonville's offense struggles mightily against this defense. And yeah, you've said it already, but you get Blake Cashman back, and this defense is kind of back to what it was in the first 5 weeks of the season, just terrorizing opposing quarterbacks, really good quarterbacks like Brock Purdy and CJ Stroud. So I think the defense holds the opposing offense to not very many points. I think the offense still has some things to figure out. I think you've got to figure out how to get Justin Jefferson more involved in this game plan.
Yeah. Which they have been the last few weeks. His yardage totals have gone up and up. But yeah, I think he needs to be more of a focal point. It's
not just yardage totals. It's got to be scoring, right? It's got to be getting him the ball in the end zone. If you're going to win games, this has been proven time and time again in this league. If you win games, you get the ball into the hands of your playmakers.
Yeah,
hands down.
I will say too, and I feel like I've just been interrupting you just to argue with you the last 5 times I've spoken. But I think in games, because didn't Josh Oliver have 2 touchdown receptions?
He had 1 last night. It was a career game for him. He had 5 catches on 9 targets, 58 yards, and a touchdown, which was the best of his career by far.
I don't think a guy, and I'm a huge fan of Josh Oliver. He's a fantastic football player. He's great, and I'm really glad he's a Viking. I don't think a guy like Josh Oliver gets a touchdown pass without the defense focusing as much as they are on guys like Justin Jefferson or Jordan Addison. I think his opportunities come and open up, or guys like his opportunities open up when you have those superstars that have to get attention.
It's the reason Jalen Naylor scored a touchdown last night and has played a pretty significant role in this offense so far to this point in the season. It's because opposing offenses are draping Justin Jefferson in coverage, and they learned last year that you got to do the same thing with Jordan Addison. These guys have to be covered, and Jordan Addison proved last night. I don't even need 5 feet. You put the ball on me, I'll bring it in, and I will score.
Yep, and Justin Jefferson also proved last night that if you pay too much attention to him all game, and the other guys start poking up, and Jordan Addison gets a touchdown, and then Josh Oliver gets a touchdown, you start kind of maybe thinking, we need to spread some more resources to the other guys. Then Justin Jefferson goes off and gets like a 40-50 yard bomb thrown to him, and it goes off. Like, that's how good he is, and that's why you have to focus on Jefferson.
It's a perfect recipe because you have a head coach who's kind of got that like mad scientist kind of mind. Like, he doesn't give off those vibes when you talk to him. Like, Kevin O'Connell's like the salt of the earth, like the nicest guy you'll ever meet, and he's definitely a player's coach, but as a football mind, like, I think he's always scheming. He's always trying to figure out, how can we get Justin Jefferson open? How can we, if they're going to triple coverage him or double team him or whatever, how can we, if there's 3 guys on him, Speedy's going to be open over here, or Jordan Addison's going to have 1 guy on him over here. This offense is going to open up. You get TJ Hawkinson back. If we can solidify that offensive line and get them to really hold back that defensive pressure, give Sam Darnold some more time, things will open up for this offense. And the sky's the limit, I think, for the offense, but the offense has to improve. My score prediction is less than yours because I think they're still figuring it out. I don't know that everything is solved yet. Getting Cam Robinson is huge because it solidifies that left side of the line, which is so important with Darisaw gone now. You've got to solidify that. I think you need to get Reisner in there, and you need to see what he can do. And you need to see if he's a better option, even if it's slightly better than Ed Ingram at that right guard position. But you've got to figure out how you get that front five to be as effective as possible to give Sam Darnold more time. Because when Sam Darnold has more time, he makes fewer mistakes. He gets the ball into the hands of the playmakers, and they make plays and they score points, and the Vikings win games.
Beautiful. So we've talked about adding to everything you just said, getting Jefferson more involved, or making sure he's still as involved as he needs to be, keeping Sam Darnold upright, all that. Plus, what do you think the Vikings need to do other than that to make sure they have all the keys they need for victory?
Yeah, I think the run game is going to be an important facet of this offense. We've seen it, and we're continuing to see it kind of by proxy with Kirk Cousins now in Atlanta. Like they've got Bijan Robinson, and yeah, they're moving the ball a little bit that way, but Kirk Cousins is still throwing the ball a lot.
Yeah, it's funny. Kirk and Darnold have the same number of touchdowns and interceptions right now.
But
it's like
Kirk
17 and 5
has
or something
like
that.
500 more yards or something.
Yeah,
because he's throwing the ball a lot more. And I think like the tweet came out today comparing them, like, oh wow, like, and I think that kind of the implication of the tweet was like, well, we traded for just a younger version of Kirk.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's exactly true, because I think what we gave up in Kirk, we gained in Aaron Jones, and we gained in being able to sign a guy like Cam Akers back to have this running back core that's potentially going to be really solid for us as long as they stay healthy. And it opened up a lot of opportunities on defense. You get a guy like Kirk Cousins off of your payroll, and now all of a sudden you can pay all these guys like Van Ginkel and Cashman, Grenard. Like, you bring in these
Darisaw,
huge dudes, and signing Darisaw's extension, like, that was massive, and that was the choice. And we spent a lot of time debating that in the offseason, like, what do you pick? Do you pick the really good quarterback and get rid of all these other guys, or do you bring in some other guys and get rid of the quarterback? And I think we were kind of split on that for a while.
You and I had different opinions.
We sure did.
Respectfully different opinions.
Respectfully. But anyways, I'm very happy with how things have turned out. And anyways, all of that to say, you were asking me about keys to victory.
Yeah.
This run game has to... It has to be so reliable that Kevin O'Connell at any moment in the game, any moment in any of these upcoming road games, can just call on 33 or call on 27 and say, we're running it. Let's do this.
Yeah.
That's how solid it has to be. It's not going to be a 200-yard game for either of those two guys, but at any moment...
And that's not a Kevin O'Connell offense. He doesn't have a 200-yard running back.
No, but I'm just saying, like, it has to be that reliable.
Yeah.
Because Sam Darnold's going to need plays like that to clear his mind, and he needs to be able to snap the ball, get it to one of those two running backs, and live to see another down, right? Like, we're gonna see those. I think this is just gonna be typical of Sam Darnold down the stretch. We're gonna see those. He snaps the ball. He's gonna see a defender coming straight at him that he didn't expect because he didn't see it in the pre-snap read, and he's just gonna have to dump it down. Or he's going to hopefully be mature enough to throw it out of bounds or whatever. We're going to see those plays where everything just blows up in his face, and he maturely and wisely gets rid of it to live to see another down. And he's going to need those palate cleansers to just, here you go, Aaron.
Yep.
Get me 5 yards so we can get to second down or third down or whatever, and hopefully get the ball to somebody else and get a first down and keep going.
Yeah.
That's a key to victory for me, is getting this run game solidified. And I think the Jaguars are a good team to practice that against.
Yeah. I should know more about the Jaguars than I do. I don't know much. I just know they're not playing very good this year. But I do know they have a Super Bowl winning head coach. They've got a first overall pick under center who has shown that he can be good. It's not like they're going up against, the dead husk of Joe Flacco this week. I think this will probably ultimately end up being a tougher game than it should, kind of like the Vikings Colts game was a closer game than it should have been. But for me, it's all about the defense. If Cashman does practice at all this week, and if he is back, because remember, I don't think he practiced at all last week. At least I think he did not participate in any, because he wasn't healthy enough. So if he does come back, that's huge. Almost like for me, if Cashman comes back, that's enough for me to say, okay, victory right there. But yeah, as long as the defense can hold their own this week, keep Tank Bigsby from getting another 1 or 2 touchdowns and kind of blowing up the game, I think, the Vikings have every opportunity to win. That's why I predicted a 31-14 victory.
Right now, the Vikings are 4.5-point favorites, according to ESPN.
Yeah.
I think that number goes up before the game, especially if you get some news like Cashman coming back. Mm-hmm. I think that number could increase to 5 or 6. It was interesting with this game against the Colts this last week. I think, didn't the Vikings start as like 6 or 6.5-point favorites, and that kind of dwindled down to like 5 before the game started?
I did see somebody tweeted, so I didn't verify this, but I saw it in a tweet. The Vikings opened up as like a 6.5-point favorite against the Colts this past week,
when Anthony Richardson was supposed to start, I think, right?
And then when they made the announcement, which I don't know why you would make that announcement. So, like, that seems like one of those things you decide and then you hold to hold in close as a competitive advantage. That's such a dumb thing to announce that you're going to make. It's not like Flacco and Richardson are so close and you can use the same game plan against both of them. They were dumb for announcing that so quickly. Anyways, once they made that announcement that they were switching quarterbacks, the Vikings went from like 6 or 6.5-point favorites to like 5 or 5.5-point favorites. Like, Flacco, I guess, was worth a point, and we'll never know. He must have been. So, but yeah, I agree with you. I think the Vikings might continue to become bigger favorites as the week goes on. And I think a part of that is having a key player on their offense just 2 weeks ago now plays for the Vikings in Cam Robinson. If they haven't already, they will have that meeting, and they'll sit Cam Robinson down with all the coaches, and they'll just ask the questions. Okay, what does the offense do here? How does the defense handle this? What do you know about anything? What are the calls they make? They're going to do that.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. They'd be stupid not to. And the Jaguars knew that before they sent one of their players, one of their former starters, over to the Vikings.
You know what this reminds me of? I'm just gonna be super annoying, and people are gonna.
Are you gonna mention Moneyball?
I'm gonna mention Moneyball. I have to, but it just reminds me of the trade that Billy Beane makes. There's a moment where he makes a phone call and he tells the opposing manager, he's like, "Hey, I don't want this guy pitching against me tonight. Tell him to pack his bags and send him on over." And then he was a Hispanic player, so he comes in and he's like, "Hola," and he has to like translate. But anyways, that's kind of what it reminds me of. And yeah, I definitely agree with you. Cam Robinson is going to be involved in a lot of meetings this week, and I wouldn't be surprised if Flores himself sits down with him and like, "All right, tell me about some of these defensive coverages." Not Flores.
Well, Kevin O'Connell and Wes Phillips, yeah.
Yeah. I'm thinking of the opposite side of the ball.
Yep.
But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they sit down and they figure out what's going on the other side of the ball, and use that as leverage against the Jags. So
I've seen a TikTok, and it's like a video of a podcast with, I'm pretty sure it's Jeremiah Searles is on a podcast. This was a while ago. Former Viking Jeremiah Searles was on a podcast with, I think, other former Viking, Boone. Who's the guy that played for the 49ers and then came to the Vikings? It's like a left guard. Doesn't matter anyways. I think he's on Score North. Anyways, Searles talks about like he had right at the end of training camp, been traded from the Chargers to the Vikings. And then I think week 1 that year, the Vikings opened the season with the Chargers. And coaches kind of like pulled him in and asked him like, hey, what can you tell us? And on the podcast, Searles was like, oh, what should I do? Like, should I tell them everything I know? Like, I don't know. And he's like, I called my agent, and he's like, my agent gave me the best advice ever. He said, who signs your paychecks? And Searles was like, all right. So he told the Vikings everything he knew. So that's kind of what I expect Cam Robinson to do. Yep. Is like, hey, I'm going to tell you everything I know, whether it helps or not. At least you'll have more information than you did.
And like I said, man, he played well enough to deserve whatever he's being paid now, and to deserve an extension going forward, and bring him back. Yeah. Whether it's into another starting role next year, maybe in a different spot when Darisaw comes back and is healthy, or if it's, just in pure backup, like pure insurance. Yeah. If they can get him on a dime, it would be a great depth position to sign.
I think he's still only like 29 right now, which offensive lineman, if you're good, you can play for a while.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so we both predict a Vikings win. Sorry, I cut you off. What were you saying?
Well, we predict right now that the Vikings will win, but our preseason picks, we differ here, which is again where next week one of us will be spinning the wheel and the other one will be watching. So you predicted a Vikings win, preseason.
Okay.
I predicted a loss, and honestly, I'm trying to like rack my brain as to why I predicted a loss.
Was this one of your locks?
No. I don't know did we do locks this year?
I think we did. I'm pretty sure we did, because I know I predicted the Vikings-Falcons game as a lock to win for the Vikings.
Okay.
I don't remember what my lock to lose was, but either way.
We'll do some research on that this week and double back on that. But regardless, one of us will spin the wheel, one of us will not.
I think we both hope it's you, right? Right. One, because I don't want to spin the wheel again, although the jalapenos were delicious. But, I mean, if you spin the wheel, it means the Vikings won.
Yes, that is true. I would like to point out, just because it's fun, you're 38% on your picks right now.
I'm fine with that.
And I'm 50%.
Yeah, but I think I'll take a turn, because I famously predicted an 11-6 record, which was a very high win total for the Vikings at the time. Mm-hmm. And they're definitely on track for that. I don't know what exactly they're on track for, but they're on track to lose less than 7 games. So
true. You know who's doing better than both of us?
Well, I know the coin.
The coin is, for sure. The coin is currently sitting at 88% correct.
Nice. Yeah, they've only guessed one wrong game so far. The coin did.
Our wives are outperforming both of us.
Miranda just looked at the win totals for each team last year and the win totals for the Vikings last year, and just kind of went off that. She did spend a couple minutes actually like putting some time and effort into it, but
yeah, I kind of went to my wife with a like, all right, do they win this game? Do they win this game? Like, I went game by game and just recorded her response. It was kind of just a like.
Oh, she didn't let me do that. She said, "Okay, give me the schedule, and I'll hand it back to you in a few minutes." And yeah, I wasn't a part of that at all.
Well, regardless, both of our wives are doing pretty well. Your wife, 75% of her picks are correct.
There's still time.
My wife, 63%. So. They're doing pretty well. Our kids, not so much. Your kids are doing worse than my kids.
That's okay. They just want ice cream.
You and your kids are tied. And actually, my kids are tied with me right now.
Nice.
You and your kids are both at 38%. I'm at 50% with my kids. So, anyways, it'll be interesting to see what happens against the Jags. It'll be interesting to see what happens in this 3-game road stretch. That's a lot of games to play on the road. I'm a little concerned about the longevity of the Vikings in these short weeks and traveling. They don't have they're not traveling way out to the West Coast, or they're not traveling to Europe, or anything like that in this stretch. But it's Jacksonville, then it's Tennessee, then it's Chicago. Mm-hmm. So there's travel involved for 3 straight weeks, and to get a 53-man roster plus all the staff and all the equipment and stuff, it's an operation to get all of that from Minneapolis to wherever you're playing that week. To do that 3 weeks in a row is a lot.
But to kind of spin it a little bit, I think if you're traveling a bunch like that, maybe you can lock in a little bit more. You're away from home, sure. I don't know what their plans are, if they're going to actually spend extended time away from home or just do the flight in, flight out thing. But I mean, I think you should be able to lock in a little bit more the night before. I know even the home team for every NFL team, the night before a game, they still stay in a hotel before, whether it's a home or away game. But I just feel like you might be able to lock in a little bit more and just focus on football, and that might be a good thing.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. Monday Night Football, which we're watching unfold right now, the Bucs just got a 1st and goal with 33 seconds to go.
Crazy. And they're down 17-24 to the Chiefs.
They're down a touchdown, so they punch it in here and make the extra point. This game could be going into overtime.
Yeah. Oh, and they're not just 1st and goal. They're 1st and goal to one. That's crazy. Okay.
So, yeah, we're going to have to take a break here before we wrap things up. Watch this play. Baker throws.
And it was
incomplete.
Okay.
30 seconds left. We can wrap up the episode here while they set up the next play.
Well, if people want to reach out to us, how would they do that?
Email would be a great way to do that. theskolhop@gmail.com. Also, social media. We're pretty much everywhere. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, even some of the smaller outlets, Reddit. I know we're on. What else am I missing?
Reddit might be the biggest one, though. Don't discredit Reddit. That's a huge one.
Have you been doing some secret stuff on Reddit that I don't know about?
I don't know about secret stuff, but I'm there every once in a while. Untapped, we're there. I know last week I said I would kind of update things. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers just scored a touchdown. They're 1 point away from tying this up. It doesn't matter to you because you're in the future listening to me say this right now, and you already know how this game ended. Anyways, we're everywhere. If you just Google the Skol Hop, SKOL, the Skol Hop, you will find us. We have a website that links to everything else. We're on YouTube. YouTube might be like the best way to see all of our stuff.
Yeah, we've really put a lot into our YouTube channel. You can watch, obviously, what we do. You can watch the Purple Punishments. You can watch Austin eat a whole handful of jalapenos. You can watch me take a shot of apple cider vinegar a few episodes ago. You can watch all of it. You can watch our episodes, the beer that we try. You can see what we try. And if you're interested in any of the beer that we have on the episode, you can get a feel for what that's like, and you can go hopefully find it in your local grocery store as well. But
and as far as reaching out to us, maybe you can reach out to us any of those ways, but maybe the best ways are YouTube comments, definitely Twitter. We'll definitely see it there. TikTok, we'll get comments. We need to balance out because most of our commenters right now are just mean Lions fans that think Evan's crazy for saying they won't have any troubles with the Lions.
We've got week 18 circled on the calendar.
It's coming. It's coming. And the thrill will be there. All that to say, hey, what'd you think of this beer? I like fun-sized from LionBridge.
I mean, it's gone.
Yeah.
It's really good. I like this. It was really easy to drink. The chocolate wasn't so in your face. I think the vanilla really balances it out. It's not the Snowdrift Vanilla Porter that I remember, but I think it's Iowa's version of that Lion & Kugel's Snowdrift Vanilla Porter. If you like that beer and you're like, I wish something was made in Iowa that was similar to that, look no further than Fun Size from LionBridge.
Yeah.
Really, really good.
For a long time, that Lion & Kugel's Snowdrift Vanilla Porter was my favorite beer. And for probably the first, 5 years of my drinking life, if you had asked what my favorite beer was, instantly I would have said the Snowdrift Vanilla Porter. And it's still really good. It's still up there. I'm going to make 22-year-old Austin upset, and I'm going to say the Fun Size, it might be better than that Snowdrift Vanilla Porter.
I'm pretty sure we tried that Snowdrift Vanilla Porter together. We were at Tony's Pizza.
Yep.
Tony's Pizza in Cedar Falls, and we tried it for the first time.
You ordered it first, and I was like, all right, I'll go for it.
Yep.
Yeah, this Fun Sized, it's a really dark in color, but not dark in like consistency. It's easy to drink, like you said. It's really good flavor without being offensive. It's not like a candy beer. It's not just chocolate, but you definitely benefit from the chocolate flavor. LionBridge, I think I said it about Big Grove last week. I'd never had a bad Big Grove beer. LionBridge, even the beers I don't think I'm gonna like that
Crushberry Sour.
Yeah,
that was a good one.
I like them. LionBridge, you do such a good job. I really like this beer specifically, and everything else I've tried. Keep it up. I'd love to do a podcast there, or even just go there, just you and me, and nobody knows who we are. Let's just go there right now. Good beer. I like it a lot. I wish we had a few more.
Yeah, well, it's a shame that we don't have a few more, but I know where we can get some, and it's our local Hy-Vee off of Devil's Glen. That's where we get a lot of our beer. Shout out to them. Not a sponsor yet. Really good beer, though. Really good episode. I think one of the best episodes yet. I don't have any beer to Skol you with.
We still got a Skol.
We're going to Skol, and we'll see you next week after the Jacksonville game.
Yeah, Skol.
Skol.
Hey Vikings fans, Evan here from the Skol Hop, and we just wanted to say thank you again so much for listening to the Skol Hop, and we also wanted to take one more opportunity to let you know that this episode of the Skol Hop has been brought to you by Big Top Ventures. If you're considering taking an all-inclusive trip to either Mexico or Jamaica, reach out to our friends at Big Top Ventures at bigtopventuresllc@gmail.com. Once again, that's bigtopventuresllc@gmail.com. You can get the lowest rate possible on several all-inclusive resorts throughout the region. Big Top Ventures. Step right up to your next big adventure. And thanks again for listening to the Skol Hop. Skol.